there were guys that would call and it would be really late at night. They would say, who do you have? And I'm like, well, it's 2:00 in the morning. I have two choices for you. I got one supermodel and then I have the college cutie. The college cutie, you're going to hands down have the best time, but she's a 7 out of 10. Or I'm going to give you the 11 out of 10. And she's a cold supermodel. You will absolutely call me back and you will say she was one of the most stunning women I've ever seen up close. And you were right. It was very quick. She's in and out in 30 minutes. She doesn't care. Almost all of them chose.
I'm not an alpha male. I'm not a beta male either. I'm just a better man.
GYBB, get your balls back. WWDD, what would Dante do? The Sexual Revolutions being podcasted, and I am excited. Harry, what's going on? You ready to rock and roll?
Oh, Dante, always. We're always out here helping people, trying to make better lives for dudes out there, making better men. And, we don't often have a lot of guests anymore, Dante. But when this particular young lady was available, we had to jump on the opportunity because she's got some amazing stories, a great personality, and we couldn't pass up on this. It's the lady you might know as the Manhattan Madam, but we know her as Kristin Davis. Kristin, thank you for joining us on Man School 202.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here too. Good to have you.
Dante with the applause from the crowds. I like it.
So, Kristin, so let me ask you something. Can you give us a little background for those who don't know? I'm familiar with your story, but if you could just give a basic background of how you got into it and what your journey was.
Who am I, basically? Okay. The media gave me the moniker of the Manhattan Madam when I was arrested in connection for providing former governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer, with call girls. I ran an escort agency, 8-figure escort agency. I had locations in 5 cities, 120 women working for me, a call center overseas in Manhattan. And I was arrested. I was taken to Rikers. Most people don't know. Prior to that, I was vice president of a hedge fund. So I learned about the sex industry from the finance bros. I worked in finance for 10 years, started in San Francisco, networked myself to Wall Street, and then realized I was miserable there and dealing with the finance bros who had Ivy League educations. I did not. And the misogyny that was in that world. And I one day put an ad on Craigslist, seeing if that would, be a good place to find women because I had been exposed to this industry in finance. I knew how much money there was, and I was toying with the idea of opening an agency. I was fired the next day. And unlike most people who might have gone right back into finance saying, oh, this has already negatively impacted your life, I clearly doubled down on it and opened an escort agency. I was arrested. After that, I ran for office as a protest candidate. I ran for governor of New York in 2010 as a protest candidate. That sort of launched my political career. I didn't know anything about politics then. I met Roger Stone, who lobbied me to run for office. He was sort of on the outs of the political community in that time because he had his own scandal and he was looking for someone to get him back in the headlines. We ran for office. I then worked for him for 14 years and created a successful PR agency in politics, mostly right wing.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's also the thing, because a lot of times, sex work can be exploitive a lot of times because of the misogyny, the same misogyny that goes into the, the tech bros and then stock exchange. What kind of advantage did you have being a woman in this space where women, didn't have to worry about the things that they would normally have to worry about with a guy in the industry?
I think I had a really unique advantage because I came from the finance background and those guys spent a huge bulk of money, right? They're like 1/3 to half of my clients were finance guys. So even if I had been a woman-owned agency, like a woman who had, worked her way up and opened her own agency, I just ran my agency different because I understood these guys from having worked for them for 10 years. I understood this world, and I understood, high net worth individuals, particularly men. So I understood how to talk to them, and that allowed me to have an agency and girls who set very firm boundaries. And there were a lot of agencies that competed with us, who offered everything, right? They offer GFE, they offer all these things. We didn't do any of that. I didn't do anything like that. In fact, I had the best girls, the best looking girls, top models, people who I'm driving down Soho. I'm shopping in Soho and I look up and there's a billboard and I'm like, holy moly, that girl works for me, because of the way I ran my agency, because I would tell them, listen, there's an expectation for what this is. However, that doesn't mean I want you to do everything, right? I want you to understand that the value is in you and that you get to control the session. You set some boundaries, and as long as the client is happy, and that is about how you treat him, right? Because you're also talking $1,000 or more an hour, you're talking large dollar amounts. So it's a different mentality. So I think my advantage, I saw a lot of girls left because maybe I wasn't busy enough for them, or they didn't make the same kind of money consistently that they wanted. And then they went over to these other agencies where they're offering GFE. And then, the understanding with GFE is like, you do things that are things a girlfriend would do, might not be necessarily the safest, the expectation there. And agencies would offer that.
GFE being a girlfriend experience.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Agencies would offer that, but then when you're offering that, then your expectation is the girl to do that. So it's exploitive, in my opinion. I wasn't going to, and clients would call on the phone, hey, do you offer GFE? What girl does this? And I would simply say to them, we don't offer that. We're offering you time with this girl who's a top model. You can take that time. And if you build a relationship with her, then great. That's between you and her. But the rest, we're not going to overpromise, because I don't want to do that. That's not who, and our clients responded very well to that. It was the way that we ran everything.
Now, do you think that they responded to it in a good way because of the fact that, because it just was a little bit of honesty, because it was just basic honesty. Like, you had just really picked your lane and decided that, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. And if it goes out of that, I'm not going to adjust what my model is. How do you think, you think that they received it better?
I think it was twofold. I think that I did all of my websites. My design was like high class. It was with the intent. So everything started from like the beginning impression that you have of us, right? So I've geared everything through the verbiage on the website, letting you know how much it is, sort of our protocol for how you get verified to get an appointment, what our expectations are. So by the time you get to calling me, you have an idea that it's an exclusive luxury experience. So then when we get you on the phone, they do appreciate 100% the honesty. There were guys that would call and it would be really late at night, 2:00 in the morning. They would say, who do you have? And I'm like, well, it's 2:00 in the morning. I have two choices for you because it's 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
And I would tell them I got one supermodel. Really, she legitimately was. And then I have the college cutie. She's the college cutie. You're going to hands down have the best time, but she's a 7 out of 10. Her rate is also cheaper. Or I'm going to give you the 11 out of 10. And she's a cold supermodel. She knows that she's great. You will absolutely call me back and you will say, she was one of the most stunning women I've ever seen up close. And you were right. It was very quick. She's in and out in 30 minutes. She doesn't care to
Dante,
ask me
who do you go with in that situation? If you call up Kristin.
If you love what we're doing here, go to patreon.com. It's the best way to support us, and check out all the bonus content.
That's right, patreon.com/manschool202. We do weekly bonus episodes. We do listener mail, dating tips, and also, if you love the show, you can go back to the archive starting from episode 1. All the episodes will be there at patreon.com/manschool202.
You were asking, you would say, what would your choice be? It's the college cutie or the supermodel. And I think that, and I would, I've been around the block a little bit, and I realize that sometimes, the depth in which you see somebody's character and who they are is so much more important than just the sheer shallowness of looks. Not only that, but looks fade, with time. So it's just ridiculous that you would. And I get how somebody would take the supermodel because you're spending thousands of dollars. Naturally, you think the best is, but what you're not thinking about is the best experience, And
so Dante, you didn't answer
really,
which one. Which
one would you take, Dante?
I know which
cutie,
one I'm going
absolutely.
with. College cutie.
The cutie. Yeah.
College cutie.
Most of them did not. Almost all of them chose the supermodel, and they did exactly what I said. At the 40-minute mark, they were calling me, and they were like, "You were so right. She was holy moly stunning, and she was also very cold. She's left at this point, but we want to book the college cutie tomorrow or the next day, whatever it is."
Right.
So.
Now, does the college cutie, in this sense, know that that's where she's coming in as a relief pitcher, sort of, or you don't bother to let her know? You just let her know she's got a booking.
No, she knows, because the thing is, I really wanted to be honest with these girls and talk to them. I don't want to set their expectations too high and what they think their rates are, right? Because you've got everybody who thinks they're worth $1 million, but I can't get $1 million for you, right? So if you are a little chubby or a little, I can clean you up, but I really have to be, and I did this in a really nice way. I was like not trying to hurt feelings, but they need to understand that if you want to make more, it's like being a fitness professional, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the top trainer, and in these magazines, you have to kill yourself with your diet so that your every
look like a trainer,
tiny abs shows.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to get that. You can still be a trainer, but you can't, make it to number one in Olympia if your diet is crap. So,
well, you're definitely a lot nicer than the people who run the Laker girls or the Washington Commander cheerleaders, as we found out.
Cowboys,
the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, because they were.
Well, what's even interesting. What I think is interesting even about that is that, you being a woman, and this is what I was alluding to, is that you being a woman and understanding how women think. What happens a lot of times, I find that women, a man is very realistic. He knows he has money, so he knows that that's a value, but he has to be very aware of he has to be aware of what he looks like and what he is and how much money he needs to have to offset how horribly hideous he is. You know what I mean? There's an awareness that we have that I don't think that because you really very rarely, guys don't turn down sex. They're very rarely, you're gonna get a really specific person that turns down sex. So, but guys having this awareness of where they're at in the sexual marketplace,
Completely. I think there's a difference, like if you're looking at someone like an object, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're looking, like I looked at the girls like partners, right? Yeah. As opposed to objects. So you get, a cheerleading team, those girls are expendable and they're objects, and we're just to make money off of you. And if you don't comply, we'll find somebody else. I looked at these women as partners. I offered them benefits. I 1099 them. I did all these things. Right. I told all the girls, listen, if you want a location, if you want to run your own place, you tell me. You figure it out. You find a spot. Just come to me and say, this is what I need, and I will back you. Only one ever took me up on it, and I did open a location for her. But
when you say a location, you talk about a specific location for her, sort of like her own franchise, and then you would just send people to her. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, So we are promoting your TikTok profile because it is one of the better profiles out there because you have a lot of good stories and a lot of information. So, TikTok.com/@Manhattan Madam, because you tell all sorts of great stories on there. And then also you were in another documentary. You've been in a couple, but there's a new one coming out on HBO Max and Discovery called Hustlers, Gamblers, and Crooks, which starts airing. It should be out, I think, today, actually. So what was your involvement with that? What did they want to bring you in on? I guess maybe to tell this story a little bit, but what's the documentary about overall?
It's a docuseries, so they cover, I think, 2 people each episode. So it's me and someone else. And each, it's about hustlers, gamblers, and crooks, right? So they pick one from each. I happen to be the hustler for my episode, and it's about how I built the business, right? Because I did, build a very big, firm.
And then all the stuff that comes in after that. Let me ask you this: when you were doing, the service, right? Was there a time, because you obviously approached it a lot different than, let's say, the way people look at it with a street pimp, right? Was there a time where your generosity you felt like was being taken advantage of by the girls, like you're not appreciating what this could be? I mean, there must have been times where you're like, if I could do this the old way and hit you with a shoe, we wouldn't have to deal with this problem. What was some of that?
Many times, almost every single day. I mean, because I loved a lot of these girls. I looked at it, we were all, I wasn't that much older than them then, so 4 or 5 years. I looked at them as friends. I bailed girls out of eviction. Girls ran to me from their pimps. I took them in. I paid for everything all the time. Anytime I was like, I'm going to go shopping, you want to come with me? Great, let's go shopping. And I would just blow a bunch of money. Like, I really treated them, well. And
like human beings, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of them screwed me over. One slept with my boyfriend.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, yeah. One, and then not to mention the girls that ratted me out, right? They had been, there was a grand jury investigation into me with 240 pages of grand jury testimony that I'll never know what was in there because it was sealed. A bunch of girls ratted me out. People I loved, people I was taking care of, people came to me with problems. I put one girl in rehab. I did all kinds of things for them. And there was constant, girls would go missing with $10,000 of my money. All kinds of nonsense. God. Every day I would wake up to another huge problem, usually from the girls. It was hardly ever the clients.
And usually self-inflicted, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Has anyone come
2:00 in the morning, my phone's ringing, a girl's drunk at the bar. She doesn't know where her keys are. Somebody took advantage of her. She's crying. Can I help her? Of course I help her. All these things. It was just.
Has anyone tried to option any of this for a series or a movie? It must have come down that way. Is there, because this seems like such a fascinating story that would be, I think, a great Netflix series.
In back in the day, there was a lot of interest, and then I sort of stopped pursuing it because I was in politics, mostly in the right wing, and being an ex-madam doesn't go over so well when you're trying to find political clients to do PR for. So I made myself small.
Unless of course you're trying to get them girls, because it's
right.
It's an interesting kind of hypocrisy,
Right. They would have treated me better if I was getting them girls, I'm quite sure. Actually, a few of them came to me. I was like, can you get girls for our event? No, I'm not in that world anymore.
No, I'm supposed to be helping you get out of problems.
Right,
that was the whole reason you hired me.
Right now.
Yeah, that's fine. But in the meantime, can you also?
Exactly.
Can you? Maybe you got an old number, then you can slide me.
You have few friends. Yeah, all that.
Kristin, what's
the men watching this? Don't ask a woman for friends. Don't do it. We don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not an alpha male. I'm not a beta male either. I'm just a better man. Well, put your happiness first, because if you don't, they won't.